My name is Lori Rich. I am the cdpACCESS project manager, which means just about every aspect of what you're going to see I've had my hands in at some point. I'm very proud to be here today to present this. We have completed our first big beta year of cdpACCESS, and we're looking forward to Group A. So let's go ahead and get started. And if you at any point do have any questions, if you'd like to interrupt me, please feel free to come down to the microphone here. I'll give you a moment to ask your question. I'll repeat it for the group. And then I'm happy to answer them at any time. So, presentation. Awesome, thank you. So let me just give you an idea of what we're going to go over here. And I do apologize, by the way, if I cough my way through this a little bit. The airplane travel got to me a little. So I'm going to go ahead and start with some introductions. Move into what cdpACCESS is. I want to start at a very ground level for those of you who may not have participated in Group C so much this year. Go through the features and benefits and review what we've done with it throughout Group C this year, the successes and what we're looking forward to. I'm going to talk a lot about the online governmental consensus vote. I know that's what a lot of you guys are concerned about. We're going to talk about the clickers a little bit, and we're definitely going to talk about how you're going to be able to vote from home online after the hearings. I'm going to talk about the support that we're going to provide for those of you who are voting in the OGCV. I want to make sure that you guys know that we're here for you, and if you have any questions or concerns, we're going to make sure that you get your votes out. I'm going to talk about Group A proposal submission and give you a little taste of what's to come. We've made a lot of improvements, and I want to show that to you. And then also how we're going to support you going forward. Throughout Group A, I want to make sure that we have improved documentation, improved access to ICC staff, and make sure that everybody can get through the process with a minimum of fuss. So let me go ahead and talk about what is cdpACCESS. cdpACCESS started as online voting ages ago. I think about 3 years ago, which in computer time is an absolute eon. It was going to originally just be online voting, but we decided to make a cloud-based tool exclusively for our code development process and for the entire code development process. That's what CDP stands for. It was developed to make it easier for folks to participate. We know that a lot of folks have financial concerns about traveling to these hearings. We know a lot of folks don't really know the process. We want to make sure to get a lot of fresh ideas and new blood in. So we wanted to make this online system to make it easier for everybody to access the code development process, to participate in the code development process, and make it simpler for the next generation to become involved as well. All code development throughout Group C has been done in cdpACCESS, and we're going to be continuing to do all code development through cdpACCESS looking forward into the 2018 cycle. We're going to continue to make improvements, and we're going to continue to add new features, but from here on out, everything we do is going to be digital. There we go. So let's talk a little bit about what cdpACCESS is in terms of the raw features and benefits. It does maintain our current governmental consensus process. That was one of the most important things that we got from the cdpACCESS steering committee. We wanted to make sure that the process that everyone knows, that everyone trusts, that everyone understands, stayed in place. And we don't want our move to the online world to be some radical shift that causes any kind of concern about transparency, any kind of concern about security. We wanted to make sure that that process stayed solid and in place. We also wanted to make sure that more members could participate from more places. As I said, we know that traveling is expensive. We know that more and more agencies, more and more cities, more and more states have less and less money and are trying to do more and more with that less money. So we wanted to make a system that would give all of our members, especially our governmental members, the ability to participate in this process more completely and throughout every piece of the process, not just maybe one hearing that you can attend a year. We want you to be able to participate in both hearings, and not just at the hearings, but in between as well. So there are 3 primary features of cdpACCESS. The first one is the actual submission process of code changes. We've developed, as I said, a cloud-based system. The most common version of a cloud-based system most people are used to is Google Docs, where you can create a document in a browser, store it, and then no matter where you are working, every time you log in, you see that document as it is. Our code change proposal process is now just like Google Docs in an esoteric sense, not in a functional sense. but that you can create something, you can save it, you can log on, your work will always be with you, And then we have also included a collaboration piece. So again, much like Google Docs, you can invite somebody into your code change. You can ask them to participate and make edits. And you can even ask them to sign on as a co-participant or a co-proponent, so that if you're in 2 different states, you can still create that code change together and submit it together. The second piece is the public comment collaboration and submission process. Just like with the code change proposal submission process, we have made this as flexible as possible. We have given you the ability to create public comments, to invite folks into them, to talk about them, discuss them, make as many changes as you need, and then when you're ready, submit them digitally to ICC. And then finally, remote voting is, of course, part of cdpACCESS, as it has been from the very beginning. We want to make sure that participation here at the conferences is still what it needs to be. So we do require for certain motions, for instance, to make an assembly motion, you do have to be on the premises, but to vote on an assembly motion, you can now be anywhere in the world. Additionally, with the online governmental consensus vote, in order to make the final motion, you do have to be here at the hearings and talking about it with everyone. But to cast your vote in the online governmental consensus vote, you can be anywhere in the world that you want to be. So we have also implemented at the ICC something a little bit broader that we call single sign-on. This allows you to have one username and one password for every ICC tool that you use. If you use the bookstore, if you use the website or the forums, if you use our online university, we're busy making it so you have one email address, one password, one PIN for voting, and that's all you need. Everything is based on your email address, so it's easy to remember. You never have to dig for a card to find your membership number or anything like that. And you can reset your passwords and PINs online without even needing to call ICC, so it's completely self-serve and easy to use. Any question? I do want to always take a moment to pause, and I want to say this email address as frequently as I can. Any questions or concerns about any of this, the overall broad project or the online, even if you're just having a lost password issue, please feel free to email cdpACCESS@iccsafe.org. I'm going to say that as many times as I can work it in here. That not only gets to me, but it gets to some of the code development staff. We all see it. We can respond to your questions and concerns. And we do our best to respond to everything within 48 business hours. So that is the absolute best place for you to go if you ever have any questions or you need any help or support. There we go. So let's take a broad look at the timeline of cdpACCESS and start with what we've done. The Group C code development process was completed entirely in cdpACCESS. We were treating this as a beta year because it is a smaller, low volume year. It gave us the ability to really listen to a lot of users. And as we walked through this process this year, get a lot of feedback from everyone. We started with creating that code change submission and collaboration process. We improved on our performance. We improved on the speed at which the system reacts a lot during that first process. And we got some people into the system for the first time. That Group C submission process is still live on cdpACCESS.com. And if you'd like to see where we started, I always encourage folks to go ahead, log into cdpACCESS.com, click on the proposal button, and take a look at what's there. My favorite thing to say about cdpACCESS is you can't break it. There may be a bug in place, but you yourselves can't break it. And you can always feel free to create, submit, collaborate, do anything that you need, even if you feel like it's not at the right time period, even if you know that we're not at the right calendar period. Those functions are going to be available to you to work with and practice with, so that when Group C opens up, you'll be ready to go. The second thing that we delivered last year was the committee action hearing real-time results. We were able to get the ICC staff entering the committee's actions as well as any assembly motions on the fly during the hearings. And I think I checked, we were never more than 11 minutes behind at any point. Anyone could access those real-time results. Even if you went to lunch, came back, those would be available for you even if you missed part of the webinar. After the hearings, we did do the assembly motion votes. I'll talk a little bit about the results for that. I've got some statistics from that if you're interested coming up. But we did have a successful assembly motion vote this time around. And then after ICC staff took some time to process the work, we did have public comment submission and collaboration. I do want to pause for a second to let you, remind you all that what I'm presenting to you is what you will be using and what you use in cdpACCESS. It's like the inevitable iceberg metaphor. There's a lot going on under the surface, and the co-development staff at ICC has been working really hard to implement cdpACCESS in their own workflow. It's been a really great process this year. So everything that you see here, there's probably two to three items that the ICC staff is using successfully to make their jobs more efficient and better as well. So we did have public comment submission and collaboration. I hope a lot of you participated in that. People were able to pull down a code change, submit a public comment, and they were able to talk to folks about that public comment before they sent it off to the ICC. Here, we are going to have the PCH real-time results available. So at the top of, I'll show you as we go, but at the top of the cdpACCESS screen, you're going to be able to access PCH results. Again, if you walk away, don't notice something for 5 minutes, or you come in a day late, you'll be able to access those results easily through cdpACCESS, and we'll keep that up to date within minutes. We're going to have the online governmental consensus vote coming in October. It'll be open about a week after the hearings here close and be open for 2 weeks. And then finally, we're going to have the final results publication coming through cdpACCESS as well. So as you can see, it's been a very full year for Group C. It's been absolutely fantastic. And I think we've had a lot of successes. But as I said, we've been listening to everyone who has used the system, and they've provided a lot of feedback. We've also got a few new features that we want to implement. So let's talk about what's coming in Group A from a 30,000-foot level. The Group A code development process is going to be completed completely through cdpACCESS again. But this time, we're going to take even more features, some things that you're used to doing on paper or by hand, and we're going to be implementing them into cdpACCESS as well. Code change submission and collaboration has been upgraded and has changed a lot. I'll walk you through that coming up in a few minutes here. This year, we're going to look at publishing the monograph through cdpACCESS, which means instead of one big PDF, you guys are going to be able to access individual code changes or access individual lists of code changes, so you can break down and create your own documentation for exactly what you need and what you want at the next hearing. We're going to have floor modification submissions at the CAH done through cdpACCESS, so instead of running to find a printer, you'll be able to do it from the comfort of your tablet or laptop, from your seat, send them up to the committee. And that'll be available for you during the next hearing. Again, we are going to have assembly motion voting coming up. And similar to the way we are planning on publishing the monograph through cdpACCESS, this next year we're going to try and publish the public comment agenda through cdpACCESS in the same way. So you'll have access to individual public comments, individual code changes. You'll be able to prepare your own documents and come to the hearings even better prepared than you have in the past. Of course, we're going to have the PCH real-time results. The real-time results have definitely been a favorite of most folks. We're going to have the online governmental consensus vote. And while we're going to publish the final results through cdpACCESS hopefully this year, it'll be in those large documents you're used to. Next year, we're looking forward to having those final results published, much like the monograph, in individual and smaller chunks so that you can look up exactly what you want to know real fast, real easy, and instead of having to print a 600-page document, you can print only the 16 pages that you're really looking forward to. So actually, I'll take a moment to pause here. I know I'm, as always, over-caffeinated and speaking at the speed of light. So I do want to give folks, if anybody wants to ask any questions about sort of the overview of where we've gone and what we're doing, please do feel free to come up to the mic here. I'm happy to answer questions at any time. Just break in and we'll answer them as we can. Otherwise, let's take a look at proposal submission in Group C. All the proposals were submitted using cdpACCESS. Total proposals that were submitted that made it through to the committee action hearing, we had 525 come through. We had quite a few more actually submitted through cdpACCESS, and a great deal more created through cdpACCESS that were never submitted. We know that a lot of folks were coming in and trying to practice a little bit, get ready for Group A, and additionally we had a lot of folks who were able to collaborate and combine their proposals into one. But the end result was 525 total proposals submitted through cdpACCESS. Of those, about 10% of the folks who were in the system used the collaboration tools to discuss, to become co-proponents, and to work on the proposals together before submission. We're hoping to get that number up. Those tools are absolutely fantastic. They give you the ability to discuss, much like the forums that you're used to, as well as real-time chat with the folks who you are working on these proposals with. Write it securely inside an individual proposal so that it's just you and your collaborators having that discussion. But 10% this year we consider a really great success. We've also got public proposals. Not the best picture in the world here, but you can see the little blue button there. I think I'm too far away for the laser pointer. But if you see the, if you see the blue button there, clicking on that button during the proposal submission period allowed you to access proposals from individuals who chose bravely or foolishly, depending on who you talk to make their proposals public to the whole world. Anyone who logged into cdpACCESS could see their proposals before they submitted them. They were able to contact the proponent and say, hey, I love your proposal. Could you invite me in? I'd like to collaborate. Or, hey, I think you're crazy. Let's talk about this before you submit this thing. Or even just sign me up. I'm a co-proponent now, and we're good to go. So we had, it was very hard to get a firm number on how many public proposals we had at any one time. Folks would open their proposal, get a few people in, and then close it back down. But I would estimate we probably had between 20 and 30 proposals at any one time open to the public. So the assembly motion vote, again, very successful. All assembly motion votes were done online through cdpACCESS. Motions were made, again, at the hearings. We didn't want to interrupt the governmental process, consensus process that we already have in place. So we wanted to make sure that individuals who were here to testify, discuss, that sort of thing, the assembly motions, were the only ones who were able to submit assembly motions. But once we came back from the hearings, the ICC staff entered all of the assembly motions into cdpACCESS. We had a total of 20 issues up for vote this time around. We had a total of 256 unique voters, and your average voter voted on 13 individual issues. So we really didn't have a lot of single issue voters. I know that was something that a lot of folks were interested in hearing the numbers on. We didn't have folks logging in for just one issue and walking away. Most people went through at least half, if not more, of the assembly motions. They viewed the videos, they took a look at the ballot, and then they voted afterwards. There were 5 assembly motions out of those 20 that did pass and were successful, and of course became public comments here at the public comment hearing. So all in all, it was a pretty average year, which for such a jump to such a new system, I think is absolutely great. The process stayed the same, it just got more efficient, and we got a few more people participating, which is fantastic. Group C public comment submission, again, I hope a lot of you participated in that. All public comments were submitted through cdpACCESS for Group C. Collaboration tools were available. Unfortunately, due to some timing, I don't have the exact percentages of how many folks collaborated on public comments. But I can tell you we had 433 public comments submitted through cdpACCESS, and 515 individuals submitted those 433 public comments. So we had a lot of repeat users, which I think is great and shows that it's really easy to use. You can come back and submit 2, 3, 4 very simply. The number of proposals that we're here to talk about with public comments, 227. So again, for Group C, a pretty solid year. Anytime that we see something like that with a big jump into a brand new system, I'm really happy to see, no real decline, just some solid numbers. That says to me that the system's working great. So let's talk about the online governmental consensus vote. Again, I know that a lot of folks are here specifically for that and to hear about that, so I've got a nice big chunk of my presentation just about that. I want to preface this by saying that I will be at a cdpACCESS booth just outside the hearing rooms the entirety of the hearings. So anything that you hear today, if you don't get it down in your notes correctly, you've got any kind of questions, please do come see me at the cdpACCESS booth. I'm going to have handouts that are available for you to grab and take home that are going to walk you through the process I'm going to show you today. So if you've got 12 voters back in your office, come by, grab 12 sheets so that they've got that step-by-step each for themselves. And I'll be happy to answer any other questions that you might have. So first, let's talk about non-voter access. That's one of the biggest questions I've already gotten, emailed to cdpACCESS@iccsafe.org. I told you I was going to sneak that in when I could. Non-voter access, a lot of folks wanted to know how transparent the vote was going to be. What's it going to look like for someone who isn't a governmental member, but does want to see what the vote is looking like? It's going to look the same. Non-voters are able to log into cdpACCESS with your MyICC credentials. You're able to access the ballot. You're able to access the testimonial videos. The only thing you cannot do is vote. You are seeing identical ballots to the voters. You're seeing identical listings to the voters. We made this as transparent as we could so that everything that you see today here when I'm talking about a voter, know that if you're a non-voter, you're going to be able to see all of this for these Group C votes as well. And that's we're going to continue that into the future. We want to always increase, never decrease the transparency of our projects by using these digital methods. So voter designation, I know that we're already well within the 30-day period, but if you want to check and make sure, since this is our first year, we've already had 1 or 2 surprises where someone had 2 email addresses, for instance, in the system. If you want to make sure that your voter designation looks perfect, you can log into cdpACCESS.com today. Up in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see 1 of 2 indications, a green indication that says, hey, you're good to go, you've got access to vote, or a red indication that says you do not have voter access. If you know you're validated through our membership department and you're seeing that you don't have access, there might be a mismatch between your MyICC credentials and your voter designation credentials. It's really easy for us to fix that. Just please email cdpACCESS@iccsafe.org. We can do that throughout the process, throughout the period, but obviously the sooner you double check and get information to us about what's going on, the easier it'll be for you to vote when the voting period actually opens. So I'm going to talk about how to vote, I'm going to talk about viewing your votes, and I'm going to talk about voter support. Rather than giving you an overview of each one of those, I'm going to go ahead and just jump right in to the how-tos. I've got this voter designation slide here. Since we're already, I've used some of this presentation before, since we're already within the 30-day process, I know, or 30-day period, I know that most of you are already good to go on that. I just want to note that iccsafe.org/voter designation gives you information. If for some reason you should have been designated this year, but you guys missed the deadline, or you have any other questions, please bookmark that link, that iccsafe.org/voter designation, and make sure that next year we'll get you in and get you through the process as smoothly as possible. And next slide. Here. I love doing a technology presentation, have technology issues. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to take you all the way through the voting process as if you'd never been on cdpACCESS before. So first, you're going to log in. As I said before, this is your MyICC account. So if you already have a login for the bookstore, if you've already got a login for the forums, anything that you do on iccsafe.org, that's what you're going to want to log into with cdpACCESS. As we already mentioned, I know that some folks, for whatever reason, say have their personal email address on iccsafe.org, and then they've got their voter designation email address at work. If we need to merge that information, please email cdpACCESS@iccsafe.org. We'll get that sorted out for you. But when you do log into cdpACCESS, you're going to want to make sure to log in with your MyICC, the website, email, and password. As you can see, it's a little bit tiny, but those 2 links underneath the green Go button allow you to reset your voting PIN as well as reset your password. So when we first opened cdpACCESS, in order to increase security, we set a list of rules in place as to how you had to create your password. That was about a year and change ago, and I know a lot of folks have probably forgotten what they reset their password to, or didn't even remember setting a PIN, which is a 4-digit number that you're going to need to vote. If you want to reset those, all you have to do is click on those links. It'll take you through one quick form. It'll email the right information to you, and you'll be ready to go. When you log into cdpACCESS, there's going to be a vote button at the top. It's right where that red circle indicates. You're going to click on that, or you can see the green button down below. That's going to say Vote Now. Either one will take you right into the voting. We're going to have a lot of information. This is our cdpACCESS timeline page. We do our best to have as much information as possible, all the latest and greatest information on these pages. So if you're ever at a loss as to where we are in the code development process, I definitely recommend you go ahead and log into cdpACCESS and take a look at where we are on those timeline pages. During the online governmental consensus vote, we'll have everything from voter designation information, just in case you want to cross-check things, information on how to vote, how to get help, and how to get support, all the way through some statistics about how many votes, how many total issues there are for you to vote on, that sort of thing. So we're going to make sure to keep that information as updated as we can, but if you ever have any questions, start there and then email cdpACCESS@iccsafe.org. Once you've clicked on the Vote button or the Vote Now button below, you're going to get a list of proposals. And I wish that I could zoom in on this a little bit. If you'd like a copy of these slides so you can see where I am, please email cdpACCESS@iccsafe.org, and I'll be happy to get them to you so you can actually read what's going on. The red circle here indicates a code change number, though. In this case, since it's at the top of the list alphabetically, this is GEW 1-14. So these will be in code change order. They are going to be in numerical order, not in agenda order. It's a little bit easier for you to remember that 14 comes after 13, rather than worrying about the fact that 14 got moved after 26, trying to find it. So you can page through all of these issues in numerical order, or if you'll see that search box at the top, you can type any portion of a code change number in there, and it will bring up the relevant code change numbers. So you can type GEW1, you can type GEW-1-14, all of those partials will work, and you'll be able to bring up just the code changes that you're interested in. Once you've clicked on that code change, you're going to be able to take a look at the ballot. Now, this is actually a assembly motion ballot. Obviously, those are already in place, and due to time, I didn't have the ability to grab. We don't have any online governmental consensus ballots up right now. Obviously, we don't know what they're going to look like. But by and large, this is going to be an identical system. The first thing you're going to see is the actual proposal itself. So you're going to see with everything included and interweaved in, if this is as modified by the public comment, for instance, you're going to see this proposal as modified by those public comments. You're going to see all of the relevant information as set. The GCV will also have a separate tab for all of the public comments. So even if the public comments aren't part of the motion, we wanted to give you access to those public comments so you could read them, make sure that you were fully informed. If the motion is approved as submitted, you may still want to look at the public comments before you make your decision. So that's going to be available as well. You are going to also have a hearing information tab. This hearing information tab is going to give you an overview of everything that did happen at the hearings. So this is where you're going to go to take a look at the videos. I know the streaming videos are also something a lot of folks are interested in. We've simplified the process. There's simply links that pop up and open a streaming window, much like they're not on YouTube, but it's similar to YouTube. You've got to play, pause, you can stream them, stop them, start in the middle, anything that you need to do. And you can continue to play those as many times as you need to during the voting period. So you're not restricted by ICC for a certain number of times viewing or anything like that. We wanted to give you very open access to those videos during the voting period. If you are in an office where streaming video is blocked by your IT department, we are aware that there are a few folks out there who have very restricted machines. Again, if you'll email cdpACCESS@iccsafe.org, we've got some workarounds that we might be able to help you get those videos to play, even with some severe IT restrictions. And we're happy to work with your IT department to open up just cdpACCESS.com so that you can to view those videos as well. We're also going to have all of the information, not just from this hearing, but from the CAH as well. And that includes a tab that will have all the information that was published in the ROCA. We wanted to make sure that you had all your information in one place so that you can simply click across the tabs, read the code change more or less chronologically. Here it is as it was originally submitted. Here's the ROCA information. Here are the public comments. Here's the final version. Here's the video of testimony. And now you're ready to vote. So this right-hand column here is where you're going to do all of your voting. The first item is the actual motion that is at question. So in this case, this is an as submitted. As I said, this is an assembly motion ballot, but in this case, it would be approve the code change as submitted. You are going to vote in this box. You're going to have an approve or a support and oppose option that you're going to select. So I just want to talk a little bit about the difference between a clicker vote, a vote here at the hearing, an online vote, and then how many times you can change while we're on this slide here. So if you are here at the hearings with a clicker and you vote, you will be able to see your vote in place inside the circle when you log into cdpACCESS for the first time during the online governmental consensus vote. The clickers this year, while they won't look particularly different to any of you, are much smarter than the ones we had in the past. And when we issue them to you, your votes get anonymously to ICC, but connected in the system to your login and password. So when we upload that voter information, ICC staff isn't going through and, we're uploading Joe's and then Susan's. We're uploading a lot of data, and the system is sorting through and bringing your vote out so that you can see your vote in the system from the clicker data. You're able to vote on an issue. If you voted here at the hearings, you can change that vote. Whatever you submit through this system is going to be your final vote. So if you supported it at the hearings, but on further consideration or on a discussion with one of your coworkers, you decide to oppose the motion, you can change your vote. Your vote will be registered once as opposed in the final votes. If you were not here at the hearings, the process is even simpler. You'll log in, you'll see no vote listed, and you'll just choose whether you want to support or oppose and click submit. You can continue to change your vote either way, as many times as you'd like during the voting period. So you've got 2 weeks to register your vote. If you want to change that vote 14 times once each day, you're absolutely welcome to change your mind. All you have to do is go back in and click that vote button one more time. The final vote, the one that's registered when we close the voting period, is the one that's going to go in. So no matter how many times you vote, whether it's in person or online, your final vote's the only single vote that's going to count for the final totals. You'll notice right above the blue button, there's a box to fill in some information. That's your voting PIN. In order to add some additional security, our auditors requested it. I know a lot of folks are concerned about it. Even if you are already logged into cdpACCESS, you're not going to be able to vote unless you enter your PIN. There is a link to reset your PIN right here. It does stay in the system for 30 minutes. So as long as you continue to work in the system and you don't go idle for more than 30 minutes, you're not going to have to enter that over and over and over again. But each time that you log in, you're going to have to enter that voting PIN just as a secondary check to make sure that the person whose name is on the account is the one sitting at the actual computer. So if you do need to reset your PIN, that blue link at the bottom of that white box allows you to walk in and just reset the PIN itself. So again, it's completely self-serve. You don't have to worry about calling us during business hours or contacting us. If you do have any questions or problems, though, feel free to email us, and we'll be able to help you out. There's one additional item that is available for the OGCV that is not available on the assembly motion votes, and that is the ability to add a comment. You can add a 256-character comment, just a quick, simple sentence or two if you want. Those are only going to the ICC, and that is something that we're going to see after the vote. So if you want to oppose something and you want to give reason, if you want the ICC staff to know why you are opposing that motion, or you want to leave a comment for the future, ICC staff are the only ones who will see those comments, but you can send us comments. It will open up the ability for us to see your vote on that single issue, though, just so that we do have context. So if you oppose and you want us to know why you oppose, if you add a comment, we will get a message that says, Elizabeth opposed this, and she wants you to know that she thinks it's poorly formed, and the ICC staff will be able to read that and hopefully improve the process as we move on. So that's another option that you're going to have on the OGCV, and moving forward, we're going to keep that for next assembly motion and on into the future. If you take a look down here, you've got a short list of additional items here. This gives you the next 5 issues, again in numerical order. So if you vote on GEW1, rather than making you go all the way out to the register your vote screen again, or the big list of votes, you can now see GEW 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 in that list, and you can just keep clicking through and moving through the list a little bit more smoothly. We just wanted to give you guys the opportunity to, sort of keep your work in assembly line order and give you a little bit easier way to walk through the system. If you're not going in numerical order, you can click that vote button at the top of the screen. You see it's got a gray box on it there, and you can come back out to this voting screen. Something to notice, that your vote for that particular issue has now been registered. So I supported that particular issue. I can see that I supported it, and I can see the date and time on which I voted support. So that's another cross-check for you to say, I don't remember voting on that. Hey, I voted on it at 7:30 p.m. I wasn't online then. You can always double check that. We don't ever foresee any issues, but we always want to give you the ability to double check. You will be able to export this information as well. So you're going to be able to see the issue, you'll see the committee action, you'll see the final motion, and then you'll see your vote and the date and time that you voted. You're going to be able to download that to Excel document so that you'll have a receipt that you can print out and save. We're going to keep the information in the system year to year. Currently, we don't have any intention of removing any information in the system, so as we move forward, you're always going to have all your historical data. But the voting in particular, we know that you're going to want to take a look back, and you might want to do it outside the system. So we're going to give you that downloadable receipt as well. Let's talk a little bit about the online governmental consensus support. The system is as simple as that. Log in, choose your item, vote, and choose a new item. But if you have any questions, concerns, again, the email is cdpACCESS@iccsafe.org. That's absolutely the best way to get in touch with us. If anybody's, if you want to reach, again, you can reach the code development crew, you can reach those of us in IT, and we're very, very happy to answer any questions that you have. During the voting period, we're also going to have a toll-free number for you available. So we're going to have folks answering at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Central Time, which should cover 9 to 5 on both coasts. You'll be able to call 855-CDP-ICC1. And like I said, that's toll-free. That'll get you right through. There's one quick cue that asks you basically if you want to talk to the code development staff, or if you're having a technical issue and you want to talk to IT, and it pushes you into the right direction. And someone will be able to answer your calls right away. If it does get busy, you'll be able to leave a voicemail, and we'll be able to call you right back as well. We're also going to have a great deal of documentation for this vote. Again, we're aware how important it is to folks and how many folks are concerned about this, first big step into the online world. At the cdpACCESS booth, I've got those how-to vote flyers that are going to be available. We're also going to have those available on the ICC Safe website, as well as cdpACCESS itself. So if you're in cdpACCESS, up at the top by where it says vote, there is a help button. All of our documentation information is on the screen there, so you can click help and access that and right from inside the system. If you're already on the ICC Safe website, or you're not logged into cdpACCESS, you want to take a quick look at something, it's also replicated over at www.iccsafe.org/cdpACCESS. That page also has a schedule of webinars that we're going to be providing. And I believe I have, again, I apologize for how small the text is on this. I can provide this for you, or it is on iccsafe.org/cdpACCESS. But we're going to have 3 webinars a week, the week after the hearings as we prepare the OGCV, and then both weeks that the OGCV is open. So those are live webinars. You can log in. You can get a walkthrough of the voting process, so anyone who wasn't here can get the same walkthrough that I gave you. I'll be doing it live in the actual system, so that you'll be able to actually watch me click and see how I go, follow along. And then I'll keep the line open as long as there are folks there. If anybody has any questions, you'll be able to get the questions answered live there as well. If these dates and times don't work for you, or you have a large group of folks who you think would benefit from their own webinar, please do feel free to email me. I'm elrich@iccsafe.org, or you can email cdpACCESS@iccsafe.org and ask if we can put together a webinar for you. I've done 15-minute and half-hour webinars for a number of groups. They've all gone really well. So please do feel free to reach out if you're a city, a state, another membership organization. I'm really happy to help you out in any way that I can. So these webinars are available, but I'm happy to do more. If I did a webinar a day, I'd be delighted. So please do let us know if you have any questions about those. And no registration is necessary, and the webinars are all free. I do want to indicate that. There's no CE credits, but we wanted to make sure that they were open to everyone. So I'm actually going to pause for 1 second here, because that's sort of the end of my Group C discussion. Is there anybody who has any questions? If you'd like to come up to the microphone, I'm happy to take them before I jump into Group A. I'm going to put that support slide up just so people can copy that down, but please.
Thanks, and a good presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I have 2 or 3 questions. One is, in the online vote we took after the CAH.
Yes, the assembly motion vote.
At the first hearing.
Sure.
We had 20 some odd assembly motions that were voted on.
Correct.
Do we have data on how many of the issues where the total vote differed from the vote at the hearing?
There were no votes at the hearings.
That's right.
For assembly motions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second question is, and this may be something the staff wants to tackle, I'm not sure.
Sure.
It's actually a 2-part thing. Clearly, if you have a comment for as modified
Yes.
that is successful at this hearing,
Yes.
that's what will be on the ballot.
Correct.
What will not be on the ballot is as submitted.
There will still be access to the as submitted version.
There will?
There will.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yep.
And
yep.
so the second question I have is, if you have an as modified that is successfully dealt with here, and therefore it ends up on the ballot.
Sure.
Will the information, in other words, the text of the code as it shows as modified, will it show the complete underline and strikeout
Correct.
for the modification rather than, for instance, the comment doesn't have it all. It just assumes
Right.
that as submitted was part of it first.
We're going to show the proposal with the comment or the modification worked into it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
You bet.
Jerry Anderson, Overland Park. Just a couple general questions.
Sure.
Once I submit a code change, can I withdraw it?
Yes.
In terms, like if somebody comes up and says, gee, you really screwed up on this, I need to make some changes, can I take it back and make those
Absolutely.
changes and then resubmit?
There's two ways that you can do that with cdpACCESS. Both of them do require you to contact ICC staff, but if you get in touch with ICC staff, we can do one of two things. We can either mark it as withdrawn, and that's the end of the line, it's done, everything's great, or if it's still within the submission process period, we can remark it as unsubmitted and basically send it back to you. So you can take it back with all your work intact, do a little reconnoitering, you know, work on whatever folks thought you should work on, and then resubmit it as long as you're within the time period.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
My second question is, can we see the code changes as they're submitted, as we're building for the A code series or whatever, as they come in?
We will not be opening up, you mean other people's, like just see, as each one is submitted to see
Yeah.
the complete list. We won't be opening that up. We will still have a moment when we open the monograph, more or less.
Yes.
There's always there's always plenty of work that the ICC staff needs to do just to make sure that all of the numbers are in place, all of the the structure is correct, make sure everything's assigned to the right committees, that sort of thing. So it won't be as they're submitted. There will be a moment when we open the monograph as we always did. It's just that we'll be opening it inside cdpACCESS now.
Is that just a very short window? I'm
yeah,
just thinking that you may...
I want to say it was. I would have to talk to Pfeiffer to remember exactly what that time period was. But it's just as it always has been. Whenever the code submission process closes, between that time and the time that the monograph is usually distributed, there's sort of a quiet period there while the ICC staff does their work, and then we'll open it up just as we always have.
All right,
Okay.
thank
Yep.
you.
Good afternoon.
Howdy.
Just two quick questions.
Sure.
First one is I'm here with a group of people. We're all voting members. But
Great.
our CDPACCESS says we have no voting privileges.
There might be some sort of mismatch issue with email addresses. It's been everything from a stray comma. So stop by the booth. I'll make sure to get everything down, and we'll work on it for you right away.
Secondly, we have a bunch of people in our building that obviously you only have a certain amount of voting members.
Sure.
What is their access to be able to get in and look, learn,
They'll
play?
be able to see everything that a voter can see. They just can't vote. So all of those ballots, just as they are up there, they'll even be able to see the options and the motion, everything like that. But if they click a selection, the vote button doesn't click. Nothing gets registered. So they can. It's absolutely transparent. Anyone who has a MyICC account can see everything that a voter can see.
All right, we'll go look at it after. Thanks.
Yeah, you bet.
Good afternoon. The question I have is the comments that are made back to staff. I don't
Yes.
really understand the intent of that. I could understand if the comments were being submitted back to the proponent to say, just educating you on an issue that we saw in the code proposal, but to go to staff, I don't understand what that.
That was something that was requested by the CDpACCESS steering committee, and it was something that I implemented, knowing that we've had requests that when people vote, they want to be able to leave a comment for, whether it's I'm opposing this as a conscientious objector or whatever else. There's always been a moment, I think, up at the mic where they can say, I'm voting no because during the testimony. They want the ability to basically do that during the voting period as well. So if there's a wish for comments that go back to the proponent, please feel free to email cdpACCESS@iccsafe.org. We'll see about implementing that next year. Happy to try and implement a more broad version of that. Yeah. Great. Anybody else? Groovy. All right. Thank you very much for your questions. Let's take a step in back to Group A. One more time, I'll just remind you that these support options are true for all the different time periods. So I'll just leave this up for one more second. cdpACCESS@iccsafe.org. 855 CDP-ICC1 is open whenever we have an active piece open. So during the submission process, during the public comment submission process, during a voting process, that'll be open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then those how-to files and documentation, changes pretty much as quickly as I can create it, and is on both the help button on cdpACCESS, and then it's also on iccsafe.org/cdpACCESS. Let's go ahead and jump forward then, and let's talk about Group A. So Group A is very exciting to me. It's so much more complicated and so much, I should say more complex would probably be a better phrase, than Group C was, and so we have implemented a lot of new features and functionality that I'm definitely excited about. We've improved the proposal submission process. For those of you who were part of the proposal submission process for Group C, we've taken a lot of the comments and suggestions that brought us to a better public comment submission process, and we've implemented them in the proposal submission process as well. One of the big ones that a lot of folks like is it automatically does the legislative diffing for you. So you'll be able to see the original code change, you'll be able to see it exactly as you want it to be published in the books, and then the system will put the two together and give you that legislative format automatically. We're going to have improved collaboration tools, especially the discussion tab, much like the forums. A lot of folks wanted a lot more complexity, the ability to edit their comments, the ability to delete their comments a little bit easier, that sort of thing. So we've submitted a lot of new changes to the collaboration. We're improving the documentation and self-serve help a great deal. As those of you who have talked to me about Group C know, I often like to say that cdpACCESS is always running ahead of the tidal wave. We implement things very quickly and on the fly, and we have had a lot of new functionality that comes out so quickly that the documentation has lagged a little bit this year. We are more interested in getting the new functions out to folks than necessarily creating static documents. Now that all those pieces are in place, though, I've got a lot of freedom to create some really great documentation. I'm hoping to create some interactive and searchable documentation for this year as well. So that's going to improve it a great deal this year. We're going to have online submission of modifications at the committee action hearing. That's something that I know a lot of folks are looking forward to. Finding a place to print out 10 copies right in the middle of the hearing while you're missing testimony, missing all that sort of thing, has been a frustration for some folks. So we're going to make sure that you can do that right from your seat, and that it'll be submitted up to the committee so that they'll be able to read it digitally. We'll kill a few fewer trees and save you a few steps running to the printer all through the committee action hearing process. We're, of course, implementing the ability, as I said, to access that historical information. So you'll always be able to go back in time, and in a few cases go forward in time a little bit as all of our groups start to sort of cross over and get a little fuzzy. I know there's some folks at this hearing right now that would love it if I had Group A proposal submission open last month so they could jump in and work on that. So we'll be able to do a lot more work with you guys jumping forward and back in time. So you can say, I want to work on the next group even though Group C is still open, or I want to take a look at what my Group A votes were even though we're two groups down the line from that. And then, as I said, the ability to access monograph information through cdpACCESS, that was something we wanted to implement this year, and I know we got a lot of comments about our first implementation. We've really improved how that worked. You will be able to create your own mini monographs. You'll be able to collect. If there are 525 proposal submissions, you're going to be here for 2 days on one committee and you only want to see 200 of them. We're going to give you the ability to select exactly the 200 that you want to see, create your own little monograph, and just bring that documentation there. The great thing about that is that it makes it very easy to access on tablets as well. I've got both a Surface and an iPad here, and I can show you some of the great ways that you can access this information on a tablet. The days of the 4-inch binder might be gone, and you might be able to bring that iPad in and have that for all of your hearing documentation if you'd like. So we're definitely looking forward to that. So the improvements that we've made from Group C, I want to let you guys know where they come from and how we've collected the comments. First off, we collected over 300 comments, suggestions, and questions via email. And I say over 300 because I have 300 individual emails from individuals. All of them had more than one comment or question or suggestion or hope. We probably have over 1,000 all told items that we have taken a serious look at and worked on potentially trying to implement in Group A. So most of this came either directly from you, the members, or a handful of it came from the code development staff as they worked through this year, finding ways that members might have gotten stuck or frustrated. They reported it over to IT, and we worked on ways to improve those processes. Additionally, there were comments submitted by phone and in person. I have had a booth at these hearings, a cdpACCESS booth at these hearings for the past about 2 years, and I plan on continuing to have a booth at every hearing from here until they kick me out of the building. So I definitely always love to hear comments from folks in person. Please just stop by the cdpACCESS booth, or if you're in Chicago, you stop by ICC, have them send you up to the second floor and come talk to me in my cube. I always keep a jar of chocolates right there waiting for folks to come talk to me. So please do let me know if you have any comments in person. It's a little hard to quantify those, and also a little hard to quantify the number of phone calls that I've gotten, of course, but I take every one of them seriously. I've got a big notebook that I take all those notes down in, and I love to get those comments from members. Additionally, when we were talking about proposal submission, we took a look at how the public comment submission went. There are a lot of new features that we implemented in public comment submission that were directly applicable to the proposal, and so we had the additional bonus of being able to say, not only do we have a new idea for how to do this, but now we got a whole bunch of comments from members who have actually used this functionality, and we're implementing even more improved versions of those through the proposal submission process. And then finally, performance improvements, which shortly means the system can handle more people online more often doing more complicated things. As I said, I know that Group A is a much more complex set of codes. It's got, not only is it larger, but each individual piece of it is much more complicated. There's a lot more unique pieces, a lot more figures, tables, equations, all the little things that seem simple on paper, but give a computer a headache. So we have worked through all of those, and we're definitely looking forward to having not only the more complicated code work as well as Group C did, but even better than Group C did, even though it's significantly larger and more complex. There we go. So for those of you who may not have participated either in the proposal submission process or in the public comment submission process, I'd like to take you through a few of the pieces that are available so that you can see exactly how you're going to be creating proposals during Group A. This is really a 50,000-foot overview. There's going to be a lot of little questions that you're going to have about, well, how do I do, this special case, that special case? I'm happy to answer them, and again, please feel free to either come up to the mic or talk to me at the hearings. But as we move into Group A, I'm going to have a much more complex set of documentation available for you. This is just a taste of what is available, and I just wanted to make sure, so many of you are so involved here, I wanted to make sure that you had a chance to take a look at it. So for those of you who may not have participated, this is how you pull code sections out of the code books. So you are able to, the first line there says book, second line says chapter, third line says section. You're able to pull up a book, choose a chapter, choose what section you want to look at, and every code section gets pulled in, including tables, figures, equations, any sort of call-out text that might be available there. If you look at the gray bar down the left, that allows you to select one or as many as you want of those code sections, and then when you click the gray button at the bottom, it actually imports them into your proposal. So it's effectively taking the place of you copying something out of the book or retyping something out of the book that imports that text as it is, and you can be sure you have a perfect copy of what is in the original code book. Once you've got them imported into your code section, into your code change, that's when you'll be able to modify them. You're going to want to modify each code section individually. So this one here is a 603.1. You can see I can modify the number on the top there, right underneath the red text. I can modify the title of that code section, and then the actual text there does allow me to make those modifications. Now you'll notice we've got a bold, we've got an italic, we've got no underline, we've got no strike through. It's because, as I said, we do all of the work for you in terms of legislative format. All you have to do is type in the box. So I don't know how well you'll be able to see it. You've got the legislative preview on the right-hand side here. You'll notice that there's some underline and some strike through. That is some work that I did right in that box before. So the last line there says this is some new text. That's something that I just typed in the box as is. It automatically comes up underlined and in the right place. If you delete a word, it comes up struck through, so on and so on. So we've taken a lot of that complexity out for you so that I know some folks have occasionally had the original version, the legislative version, and the final version, and in the end they realize they don't all match. This takes that sort of out of the equation, and so you're going to be able to get a perfect legislative format, no problem. Oh, one more thing, the pale gray buttons, they show up much sharper on a computer than they do on this screen here. Those say expand. We also wanted to give you, we know that a lot of folks work on smaller screens, and if you've got two things side by side, it gets a little tight. you're always going to be able to click and make one of them full screen. So if you want to read your legislative preview straight through like a nice piece of paper, nice and wide, you're able to expand that. Same thing with the work that you're doing. If you want to take that editor and make it full screen, and for the moment ignore the legislative format, you'll review it once you're done, you are able to do that as well. All right. The reason statement, as well as bibliography, cost impact statement, reference standards, all that sort of stuff, is a very, very simple process. You see that big blue edit button at the top there? When you click that, each one of those items opens up to one big text window for you. That does allow you a full suite of editing tools, so you'll be able to do strike-throughs, underlines, that sort of thing, since there's no real concern about the legislative format not matching an original here. But it's just like a Microsoft Word window or a WordPerfect window. You're able to just type whatever you'd like in there. I'd like to take a moment, because I know we had some issues with it this year, to talk about Microsoft Word and WordPerfect and all those wonderful word processors that do wonderful things for us. They don't play well with others. They've never played well with others, and that's something that most folks in the IT world know very viscerally. If you work in Microsoft Word and you copy and paste into cdpACCESS, you're not going to get what you think you're going to get. And so we definitely discourage you, and in fact, in some cases, we won't even, if there's a Microsoft Word issue that's caused some garbling and we can't tell what your intention was, we're going to send that back to you and ask you to resubmit it through cdpACCESS itself. So please make sure that you realize that if you're going to do work in Microsoft Word or otherwise outside of cdpACCESS, you're going to have to recopy that by hand. You're not going to be able to copy and paste it into the system. That's not something that cdpACCESS does. That's something that Microsoft Word does, that every browser does. Microsoft Word to Internet Explorer is particularly egregious. Microsoft thinks it's smarter than you and is wrong. So it will make some guesses as to what you intended and will be incorrect. So do please know that we're going to ask you to use to work inside cdpACCESS, and if you do some of that copying and pasting in it and it causes us to not be able to know what your intentions were, we're going to have to take a step back and have you resubmit. Right. Oh, we do have at the bottom here the rainbow of colors. That's how you are going to be bringing in attachments. So if you have images that you want to include in your reason statement, if you've got data to back up your cost impact, if there's anything that you need to import into the system to send to ICC or to include in your proposal submission, or both, you are able to upload them here on this same window. Very simple, just like you are used to uploading to your email, uploading anywhere else. It lets you grab a file off your desktop or anywhere else on your computer and upload it into the system. It also allows you to delete those and to preview which one's there, so you can be sure that you're sending the right version. So it's a very light file manager that lets you upload and create as many files as you need in the system. That last row there, which again, if you'd like these slides so you can read it a little better, I uploaded a PDF into the system, and it shows what the name of it is. It allows me to click and preview what's in it. It tells me how big it is, who created it, and when they uploaded it. So if you're working with a couple of folks and they're uploading files, you'll be able to ask them, are these the latest version? You'll know who submitted them, so you know who to go to for that information. For Group A, we are definitely going to be improving collaboration. A lot of it is going to be very similar for those of you who did use it this year in terms of the functionality. What we're improving is the user interface. I think most people agreed that what we had in terms of what you can do in terms of inviting folks, sharing your work with them, having them share their work with you was great, but there was a little bit of confusion as to how to access it, so we've significantly improved that this year. What you'll be able to do is bring up a collaborators window. You can see here, I've invited myself a couple of different times under different levels. All collaborators are going to have one of 3 levels of access to your system, and this only occurs when you invite them by email address. No one's going to be able to see your work until you invite them in. You can invite them in at the can comment level, and what that means is that they can work through the collaboration process with you. So if you want them to be able to see your work, to tell you, hey, I think this is great, or hey, make sure that you talk a little bit about the settings for this particular tolerance. They can talk back and forth with you, but they can't touch your actual code change proposal. All they can do is view it. You can invite them at the can edit level, and that gives them a little bit more access. That gives them the ability to access the actual document, the working living document, and make their own changes. You're always going to be able to see what they do. You can always undo what they've done. You can see the changes that they've made and sort of step backwards through them if you disagree. But when you invite someone in at the can edit level, again, let's say you've got someone who's a fantastic plumbing expert, and you've got this plumbing piece of your code change you're not sure about. You can say, hey Jack, can you come in and take a look and fix these numbers for me? And then they can just go ahead and make those modifications for you. The last level is co-proponent. Does what it says in the tin. Once you invite folks in as a co-proponent, they are a co-proponent of that proposal. So they will appear on the proponent's line. They will have a tab that will allow them to enter their own information. So you won't be responsible for getting their copyright release form. You won't need to worry about whether or not they want their email address to appear. They'll be able to log in, look at what information is going to display, look at what information we've collected, sign the copyright release for themselves, and make sure that we've got all of our ducks in a row for that. There is one more level that only you as the owner have access to. All collaborators can be moved between these levels by the owner of the document at will. So if you invite someone in as a can edit, and the edits that they make are nonsensical and you've completely changed your mind, you can downgrade them to a can comment, and they can still leave comments, but you can stop them from changing your work. Conversely, if you invite someone in as a can comment level and they say their only comment is this is fantastic, where do I sign? You can upgrade them to a co-proponent, and then they can log in, drop their information in place, and they're ready to go as a co-proponent. As owner, you also have the ability to transfer ownership of this document to someone else. So if in collaborating with someone you decide, I really do like this, but I just don't, I don't think that I'm the right person to sponsor it. I think that you should, and the other person agrees, you can transfer ownership to them, and they're going to be the ones who are going to actually do the submission. They'll be the primary proponent of that document. The owner is the only one who can transfer ownership and make those changes. It's also great if you've got someone who, for whatever reason, can't attend the hearings. They've put together this great proposal. Someone needs to testify, and they know you're coming. They can say, hey, Sam, would you mind being the person on the top line of this one? And they can, you can be the one to take it to the hearings for them. You're able to add these collaborators one at a time, as I said, by email address. So you do need to know the email address of the individuals who are going to be collaborating with you. Additionally, they'll need to have a MyICC account. Now, you can invite them in before they have a MyICC account, and when they receive the invitation and click on the Yes, I Want to Collaborate link, it'll say, hey, you need to create a login and password before you can access this system. But in doing so, they are going to be creating a MyICC account with us. It's free. We don't collect a lot of information. We don't use it for evil, only for CDP. But it's something to note if there are folks who wouldn't want a MyICC account, they're not going to be able to participate in the CDP Access. You can additionally, if you have a list of people that hey, there's these 10 proposals and we're all going to be working on them together, you can put together a comma-separated list and copy and paste and drop that in. You can invite them all in all at once as a here's the 10 people in my office, I want them all as can edits because I trust them. Paste that list in, and it'll invite them all at once. They have to then accept those invitations, and then they'll be good to go. But once that's settled, it's a simple one-click for you. The last item down at the bottom here is that privacy. That's the public versus private proposal that we were talking about earlier. So if you think that you've got a great proposal and you want a lot of folks to comment on it because you think maybe it's a little revolutionary or out there or weird, and you want to hear from some folks to make sure it's as great an idea as you think it is, you can open that to the public and get a lot of public comments in. On the other side, if you think that you've got a slam dunk that everybody's going to be submitting, you can create that code change, open it up to the public, and then when someone logs in and says, oh, hey, I was creating that exact change, now I don't have to do the work, I'm just going to be a co-proponent on this person's. So when you open those up to the public, they go into a list that anybody can access. Again, as before, this is anyone with a MyICC account can access this list. So governmental member, non-member, as long as you've logged into cdpACCESS, you'll be able to see those public comments, those public proposals. All you'll be able to do is see them. They're in a read-only status. You'll have information about the proponent that you can say, hey, will you invite me to collaborate? And then they can collaborate. So when you do open a proposal up to the public, you're just giving people read-only access to it to sort of get the word out. But it does give you the opportunity to open up your proposals to a much larger group of folks. This is one of the big improvements from this year. I know that there were some questions about folks who did have to collect their co-proponents' information, make sure that they had all of those copyright release forms in a row, make sure that they had the email addresses signed off correctly, that they knew who the employer was, that they knew who they represented. This is now all in the hands of your co-proponents. So if Sam says, I want to be a co-proponent, you can say, great, log in and fix your information. And you can even submit your proposal, even if they haven't submitted all of their information yet. They'll still be able to go in and submit the appropriate information. So the ICC staff can help you sort of wrangle those folks too as we get closer to that time period. But I know a lot of folks were hoping to see this, and we do already have this in place for the next year, so your co-proponents are going to be able to do their own work. All right, next slide. There we go. So this slide will look very familiar to you. Proposal submission support is a lot like OGCV support. cdpACCESS@iccsafe.org. We're always here to help you. 48 hours, we will respond to your emails. And we can give you any kind of answer. No question too simple or too out there. I've looked up a lot of really interesting information based on questions we've gotten into that inbox. So please do send any thoughts that you have to that inbox. During Group A proposal submission, we're going to open it up on the 17th, I want to say is the Monday of November. As soon as that proposal submission process is open, the 855 number is going to go live. So all during the proposal submission process, from the day we open it in November to the day we close it in January, that you're going to be able to, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., you'll be able to dial this 855 number and get someone live on the phone. And as mentioned, we're going to do a lot more with documentation this year. We're going to have searchable documentation, a little bit more interactive documentation. And we're going to continue to do these one sheets like we have for each other piece. So anytime you find me at a hearing, I'll be able to give them to you. We're going to post the PDFs, the 10 easy steps to get you through the proposal submission process for your basic proposal. And then any more specific questions you have, you can always contact me if you have any further questions. So the cdpACCESS booth will be available outside the hearing room for one-on-one demos. For any further questions, I do have some test votes for the OGCV available just of today that you can take a look at those if you're interested to see what those ballots look like. Additionally, we've got a few pieces of the Group A proposal submission process that I can even show you those live. My developers will be getting here on the 1st, and they'll have the latest and greatest version with them so that we'll be able to project that onto a screen for you. I've got all of those one sheets available. Please come by and take the handouts that we got printed, take them back to your group and make sure that everybody's got the best way to vote available to them. And if you are interested in a custom webinar, if you go on iccsafe.org/cdpACCESS and that webinar schedule doesn't work for you, again, please feel free to come out to the booth and schedule something with me. We do them, as I said, they're free. There's no registration required for any of them. We don't offer CE credits for any of it, but in my opinion, getting the information out there, definitely more important to get it out there as quickly as possible. So I am also went through this very quickly, didn't have nearly as many questions as I thought I did. So I'm going to go ahead and open the microphone up again. If you have any questions about any aspect of cdpACCESS, please feel free to come up and ask them here. I'm very happy to answer anything. Group C, Group A, looking to the future, looking to the past, we can definitely answer those. Otherwise, I know this is abbreviated, 1 hour, 15 minutes instead of 2 hours. So I will definitely stay in the room if you want to ask me some one-on-one questions as well. I'll park myself up here in the front and make sure that I can answer those questions. But does anybody want to come up to the mic right now and ask any further questions before I wrap this up? Awesome.
Since 2015 will be a more complex code year,
Yes.
if we have a set of proposals that affect multiple codes, do we have to do them individually?
No.
Or one-shot deal, such as in Chapter 1, where you may have the same text in all I-codes? Is it a one-shot process, or individually for each of the codes?
So let me just restate, make sure I'm understanding your question correctly. There are certain codes that, for instance, there's identical text in Codebook A and Codebook B,
Correct.
and you want to submit a change, and do you have to pull both of those in, or can you just pull one in? So let's say it's fire and plumbing. Can you just pull fire in and note that the plumbing ones are going to be due to
Exactly.
be changed as well. That's actually more of a process. I assume that we're gonna allow that and that notation. I would want to double check. The system certainly has the ability to allow you to make that notation, especially you can put that notation in the reason statement that says, I know that the plumbing code also needs to be modified. I think it's just going to be a question of process and what the staff's going to know how to process it. So I'm going to say tentatively, yes, you're going to be, no, you will not have to submit each individual section. I'm 99% sure that's the case. I don't think that Pfeiffer's going to shoot me for that one. The system has access to it. That question is more of a process question for the
Okay.
ICC staff.
Well,
at that
now
point.
staff knows.
Sure. Yeah.
Next question, tables.
Yes.
This year they were a bit troublesome.
Yes, we
Have
have.
we improved that for the upcoming year
Yes.
as well as equations
Yes.
with Arabic and Roman letters?
One of the big improvements that we made when we were making a list of what we were going to improve, the data handling is the shorthand that we've been using for all of these sort of issues, where the system was technically correct as far as the computer could figure it out, but as far as a human could figure it out was completely wrong.
Correct. We
Right.
had that problem this year.
Right. And so we have improved a lot of our data handling. We've handled tables a completely new way. We're managing the diffing of tables, especially a completely new way. And we've got a completely new and unique equation handler built into the system. So it's significantly
It's flawless
improved. Yeah.
now.
I would love to say it was flawless, but I work with computers every day, and I know better. So it's as close to flawless as a computer can be, and we're going to continue to improve it. If you run into any issues, let us know, and we'll probably be able to implement a little
We
back-end
had
tweak to make
nice
it.
conversations
Oh,
this
of
year.
course.
Last question.
Sure.
Figures or graphics?
Yes.
Some codes currently have them,
Mm-hmm.
or somebody may want to propose a new one to be
Yes.
installed. Has that improved?
Yes, we improved, as you noted, we no longer have that attachments tab. It's now integrated into the reason statement. That's because we have a brand new and much significantly improved file handler, for lack of a better word. So one of the reasons we implemented that is because we knew we needed to improve the way figures are handled. So we're going to have auto diffing on figures if you're going to remove them. You're still going to have to create the figures outside of the system.
That's understandable.
Yeah,
We just had
yeah.
trouble this year.
Yes, we
trying
had
to submit them, and we went through staff to do it rather than the system, just to speed up the process.
Yeah, we had some issues with file sizes and types that the system wasn't recognizing the way we thought they would, and so we've cleaned that up and fixed those issues. So people were getting stopped from even uploading them. I think that's
Right.
probably the right issue that you
Yeah.
were. Yeah.
Now, in doing so, do we have to submit them in a specific format? For example, could it be AutoCAD? Does it have to be a PDF? Does it have to be a JPEG, et cetera?
Right now, and keep in mind that we are still working. The system that we have in place right now, because everything is being done through browsers, it's got to be something that a browser understands and can handle. So Internet Explorer, Chrome, Firefox, they don't know what AutoCAD is. So we're looking at JPEGs, GIFs, I believe TIFFs are allowed, PNGs. Your standard image file types are going to be allowed.
Okay.
If you need, you don't have image software and you need, something modified, there's every possibility ICC staff can help you get the right file type in place.
And I've answered the basic
But,
question, which
yeah.
is no on AutoCAD, but
No on AutoCAD, right.
transfer them into another format.
Exactly, and we try to get the big ones. Like I said, probably 90% of images are either JPEG, PNG, or GIF. Those are all in place, and then TIFFs are a big one. If browser support improves, we will absolutely immediately implement it in cdpACCESS.
Okay.
But, yep.
Thank you.
You bet.
Sorry, I wanted to follow up just on one of the questions I asked earlier and just be sure that there's no confusion out in the audience or anybody else.
Sure.
What I was getting at when I asked about whether the original proposal that was submitted for an as-submitted vote would
Right.
be available. Obviously, they'll be able to look at it, but they won't be able to vote for as submitted.
Correct.
If as modified passes here, that's what they're going to see on the ballot.
Correct.
Okay.
We are allowing you to view the monograph PDF for that specific proposal, not vote as submitted. Is there anyone else with any other questions, thoughts, concerns? Okay, great. Well, thank you all so much for coming and listening. I appreciate all of your questions, and like I said, I know I'm meant to be here for another, according to the clock, 38 minutes and 17 seconds, so I'll be here at least that long. I'll be up front here if you have any further questions, and I'll be at the booth throughout the hearings. So I hope you have a lot of success with CDP Access, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you. Have a great one.